The alarm clock blared like a siren in the dimly lit apartment. Sarah groaned, fumbling blindly to silence it. Her hand knocked over a half-empty coffee mug from the night before, the dried remnants of her last dose of sanity splattering across the bedside table. "Morning already?" she muttered, forcing herself upright. Her head throbbed, her thoughts sluggish. Somewhere in the haze, a single, urgent thought crystallized. Coffee. Across the room, her roommate, Mike, was slumped over his laptop, his eyes bloodshot and his hair sticking up in wild directions. He looked like a man on the brink of collapse. "Don't even try to talk to me until I've had my coffee," he growled, clutching an empty mug like a lifeline. Unbeknownst to them, two curious observers were watching their every move. In the corner of the apartment, a small, inconspicuous device hummed softly, its surface shimmering faintly in the morning light. The device housed a holographic projection of two Lorixians, aliens tasked with studying human behavior. To the Lorixians, Earth was a treasure trove of peculiar habits and customs, and they had chosen Sarah and Mike as their latest subjects. "Observation log," one of the Lorixians intoned, their voice smooth and mechanical. "Subjects exhibit clear signs of distress upon waking. Hypothesis: the human sleep cycle is highly inefficient." The other Lorixian, younger and less experienced, tilted their head. "But what is this coffee they keep referencing? They speak of it with urgency, almost reverence." The senior Lorixian activated the device's databanks, pulling up information on coffee. A brewed beverage derived from the seeds of a plant. Contains a chemical compound known as caffeine, which stimulates the human nervous system. The younger one frowned. "A chemical dependency, then? How primitive." Their conversation was interrupted by Sarah, who shuffled into the kitchen, her movements slow and deliberate. She reached for the coffee machine, her lifeline in the battle against morning lethargy. But as she pressed the button to start brewing, nothing happened. "What the?" she muttered, jabbing at the button again. The machine remained stubbornly silent. "Mike," she called, her voice tinged with panic. "The coffee machine's broken." Mike stumbled into the kitchen, his expression grim. "No, this can't be happening." He grabbed the machine, shaking it as if sheer force could bring it back to life. When that failed, he turned to Sarah, his voice trembling. "Do we have instant coffee?" Sarah's face fell. "We finished it yesterday. Remember?" The two roommates stared at each other, their despair palpable. Mike leaned against the counter, his head in his hands. "We're doomed." The Lorixians watched in confusion. "Why do they react so strongly to the absence of this beverage?" the younger one asked. "Surely there are other sustenance options." The senior Lorixian narrowed their eyes. "This warrants further investigation. Prepare the assimilation module. We must experience this coffee for ourselves." The Lorixians' investigation began with a covert mission to a nearby cafe, a bustling hub of human activity. Disguised as humans, the aliens marveled at the chaotic energy of the establishment. The air was thick with the aroma of freshly brewed coffee, and the line of customers stretched out the door. The younger Lorixian, now called Lyra in their human guise, observed the patrons with fascination. "Look at them," she whispered. "They're like drones, moving with singular purpose. All for this coffee." The senior Lorixian, now known as Rax, approached the counter and ordered 2 lattes, mimicking the behavior of the other customers. When the barista handed them the steaming cups, Rax frowned. "This is the source of their obsession? A bitter liquid." Lyra took a cautious sip, her face scrunching in distaste. "It's unpleasant." But as the caffeine began to take effect, their opinions shifted. Rax felt his senses sharpen, his mind clearing in ways he had never experienced. Lyra's initial disgust gave way to curiosity, then enjoyment. "This is remarkable," Rax admitted, his voice tinged with awe. "No wonder the humans are so dependent on it." As they left the cafe, the Lorixians found themselves eager to learn more. Coffee, it seemed, was more than just a beverage. It was a cornerstone of human culture. And the more they observed, the more they began to understand its significance. Back at the apartment, Sarah and Mike had resorted to desperate measures. They scoured the cabinets for any trace of coffee, eventually settling for a dusty bag of decaf. The taste was abysmal, but it was better than nothing. "I feel like a zombie," Sarah muttered, clutching her mug like a talisman. "How do people function without caffeine?" Mike nodded solemnly. "They don't. They just exist." The Lorixians, observing from their corner, couldn't help but feel a twinge of sympathy. For all their advanced technology, they had never encountered a species so profoundly affected by a single substance. It was both fascinating and humbling. "Perhaps," Rax said, "we have underestimated the complexity of human needs. Coffee is not just a stimulant. It is a ritual, a shared experience that binds them together." Lyra nodded, her earlier skepticism replaced by newfound respect. "We must learn more." And so began the Lorixians' journey into the world of coffee, a journey journey that would challenge their assumptions, deepen their understanding of humanity, and reveal the extraordinary power of an ordinary cup. The Lorixians' fascination with coffee deepened as they delved into its cultural and social implications. They visited coffee houses that doubled as artistic hubs, observed the intricate rituals of baristas crafting their creations, and even attended a latte art competition. Each experience revealed new layers to what had seemed, at first, a simple human beverage. Rax and Lyra were particularly struck by the way coffee served as a bridge between people. They observed strangers striking up conversations over shared tables, friends reuniting over steaming cups, and workers brainstorming with mugs in hand. Coffee is more than a substance, Rax said during one of their observation sessions. It is a medium for connection, a catalyst for human interaction. Lyra nodded, her expression thoughtful. It's remarkable. For a species that often seems divided, they have found a way to come together over something so simple. But the Lorixians' research took an unexpected turn when Sarah and Mike's coffee machine finally gave out for good. Faced with the prospect of another coffeeless morning, the roommates decided to visit a local roastery known for its fresh brews and unique flavors. The Lorixians naturally followed. The roastery was a sensory overload. The air was thick with the aroma of roasted beans, and the machinery hummed with the sound of grinding and brewing. Sarah and Mike stood in line, their excitement palpable. "This place is amazing," Sarah said, glancing around. "I can't believe we've never been here before." Mike grinned. Desperate times call for desperate measures. But hey, if this place lives up to the hype, it might just save us. Unbeknownst to them, Rax and Lyra had disguised themselves as fellow customers, eager to see how this particular establishment differed from the others they had visited. As they observed, they noticed a peculiar dynamic. Each customer seemed to have a unique order, tailored to their specific tastes. "This level of customization is extraordinary," Lyra whispered. "They treat coffee as if it were an art form." Rax nodded, his gaze following the barista's deft movements. "Indeed, it is as much about the process as the product." When it was their turn to order, Rax hesitated. "What do you recommend?" he asked the barista, mimicking the language of the humans. The barista smiled. "Depends on your mood. Feeling adventurous?" Rax considered this. "Yes." The barista crafted a drink called the Mocha Nebula, a complex blend of espresso, chocolate, and a hint of spice. Lyra opted for a matcha latte, intrigued by the bright green hue. As they sipped their drinks, the Lorixians were struck by the layers of flavor, the balance of bitterness and sweetness, and the warmth that spread through them. It was a sensory experience unlike any other. "This is transformative," Rax said, his voice tinged with wonder. "I feel as though I understand the humans more with each sip." Lyra smiled. "Perhaps coffee is not just a human necessity. Perhaps it is a window into their souls." Back at the apartment, Sarah and Mike returned with bags of freshly roasted beans and a sense of triumph. They spent the afternoon experimenting with their new purchases, grinding and brewing with a level of care that bordered on reverence. The Lorixians watched with amusement as the roommates argued over the best brewing methods, their passion for coffee reignited by their visit to the roastery. "Pour-over is clearly superior," Sarah insisted, her tone playful but firm. "It brings out the subtleties in the beans." Mike scoffed. "Subtleties? I just want something strong enough to wake the dead." "French press all the way." As the roommates laughed and bickered, Rax turned to Lyra. "Do you see? Coffee is not just a beverage. It is a cornerstone of their identity, a reflection of their individuality and their shared experiences." Lyra nodded, her earlier skepticism long gone. "It is extraordinary, and yet it raises a question. How would the humans react if coffee were taken away entirely?" The idea lingered in their minds, sparking a plan to further their understanding of humanity's relationship with coffee. It was a plan that would test the limits of the humans' resilience and the Lorixians' own assumptions. And so, the journey into the world of coffee took a bold and unexpected turn, one that would challenge everything they thought they knew about humanity. The Lorixians' plan to test humanity's relationship with coffee began with a seemingly simple experiment, temporarily removing access to coffee in a controlled setting. They chose the local cafe as their testing ground, disguising themselves as employees to observe the humans' reactions firsthand. "Are you sure this is ethical?" Lyra asked as they prepared to disable the cafe's coffee machines. "It is for the sake of understanding," Rax replied, "and it is only temporary. We will restore their access once we have gathered sufficient data." The experiment began early the next morning. As the first customers arrived, the Lorixians greeted them with apologetic smiles, explaining that the coffee machines were undergoing maintenance. To compensate, they offered alternative beverages like herbal tea and hot chocolate. The results were immediate and dramatic. One customer, a young woman clutching a textbook, burst into tears upon hearing the news. news. I have an exam in 2 hours, she sobbed. I can't do this without my coffee. Another customer, a middle-aged man in a suit, stared at his tea with a mix of confusion and despair. This is fine, he said, taking a tentative sip. But it's not coffee. The Lorixians documented each reaction with meticulous detail, their curiosity tinged with guilt. It is remarkable, Lyra whispered. They are so deeply connected to this substance that its absence feels like a loss. Rax nodded, his expression thoughtful. It is not just the caffeine. Coffee represents stability, comfort, and routine. To take it away is to disrupt their sense of balance. By mid-morning, the cafe was in chaos. Customers paced the floor, muttering about their ruined mornings. A group of regulars staged an impromptu protest, holding signs that read, "Bring back the beans," and "No justice, no Java." Lyra, watching from behind the counter, felt a pang of guilt. Perhaps we have gone too far. Before Rax could respond, a familiar face entered the cafe. It was Sarah, her expression a mix of determination and exhaustion. Behind her was Mike, who looked equally frazzled. "What's going on here?" Sarah demanded, noticing the protest signs and the somber atmosphere. "The machines are down," one of the regulars explained. "No coffee until further notice." Sarah's eyes narrowed. "This is unacceptable," Mike nodded. "We'll fix it ourselves if we have to." The Lorixians watched in astonishment as Sarah and Mike sprang into action. They inspected the machines, identified the problem, that is, the deliberate sabotage, and began making repairs. Their determination and teamwork were extraordinary, and within an hour, the machines were operational again. The first sip of freshly brewed coffee brought cheers and applause from the crowd. Sarah and Mike were hailed as heroes, their efforts celebrated with free drinks and heartfelt thanks. The Lorixians, now observing from the corner of the cafe, exchanged a glance. "They would go to such lengths for coffee," Lyra said, her voice tinged with awe. "It is more than a necessity. It is a part of who they are." Rax nodded. "We have learned much today, but there is still more to understand." That evening, back at the apartment, Sarah and Mike reflected on the day's events. "I can't believe we fixed those machines," Sarah said, sipping her coffee with satisfaction. "That was intense." Mike laughed. "Yeah, but it was worth it. I don't think I've ever appreciated coffee more than I do right now." Unseen in the corner, the Lorixians made their final notes. Their experiment, though unconventional, had revealed profound insights into humanity's relationship with coffee. They had witnessed resilience, creativity, and an unshakable sense of community, all centered around a simple beverage. Observation log, Rax intoned as they prepared to leave. "Humans do not merely consume coffee. They embody it. It is a ritual, a comfort, and a catalyst for connection. To understand coffee is to understand humanity." Lyra smiled, her earlier skepticism replaced by genuine admiration. "And perhaps, to understand humanity is to see the beauty in their chaos." As they departed Earth, the Lorixians carried with them a newfound appreciation for the complexity of human life. Coffee, they realized, was not just a drink. It was a symbol of all that made humanity extraordinary. And as the stars stretched out before them, Rax and Lyra raised their cups in a silent toast to the humans who had shown them the magic of an ordinary morning. Months passed, and the Lorixians' report on coffee became one of the most widely studied documents among their species. The Council of Lorixian Scholars was intrigued, though skeptical, of the claim that a single beverage could wield such cultural and emotional significance. Rax and Lyra were summoned to present their findings at a symposium on Earth studies. The symposium was held on the Lorixians' homeworld, a pristine and orderly planet where efficiency reigned supreme. The attendees, dressed in flowing robes of shimmering silver, listened intently as Rax and Lyra detailed their observations. "Humans are a species of paradoxes," Rax began, his voice calm yet impassioned. "They are capable of great chaos, yet within that chaos lies remarkable creativity and resilience. Coffee is a microcosm of their existence, a ritual that unites, inspires, and sustains them." Lyra stepped forward, her expression earnest. "We witnessed their struggles and triumphs, their moments of despair and celebration. Coffee is not merely a stimulant. It is a vessel for their humanity." The scholars exchanged murmurs, their reactions ranging from curiosity to skepticism. One elder rose, her expression critical. "Are you suggesting that we, the Lorixians, could benefit from adopting this ritual?" Rax hesitated before answering. "Not in the sense of dependency, but in understanding. The human's relationship with coffee taught us the value of shared experiences, of finding joy in the ordinary. These are lessons that transcend cultural boundaries." The elder nodded thoughtfully, her skepticism giving way to contemplation. "Very well, we will consider your findings." Meanwhile, on Earth, Sarah and Mike's lives continued with their usual blend of chaos, travels and caffeine-fueled adventures. The coffee machine they had repaired became a symbol of their resilience, and they often joked about their heroic efforts to save the cafe. But one morning, as they sat sipping their coffee and scrolling through the news, a headline caught Sarah's eye. Mystery beans, new coffee strain sparks global curiosity. The article described a series of unusual coffee shipments that had appeared at cafes around the world. The beans, unlike any known variety, produced a brew that was described as otherworldly in both flavor and effect. The shipments were untraceable, their origins a mystery. "This is wild," Sarah said, showing the article to Mike. "Do you think it's some kind of marketing stunt?" Mike shrugged. "Maybe, but if it tastes as good as they say, I wouldn't mind trying it." Unbeknownst to them, the mystery beans were a gift from the Lorixians, a token of gratitude for the lessons they had learned. The beans had been cultivated on the Lorixians' homeworld, their unique properties designed to enhance the flavors humans loved while introducing subtle, new dimensions. As the beans gained popularity, they sparked a global renaissance in coffee culture. Cafes experimented with new brewing methods, artists and writers found inspiration in their morning cups, and communities came together to share the experience. The beans became a symbol of connection, their origins a source of intrigue and wonder. Sarah and Mike, always eager to try something new, visited a nearby cafe that had acquired a shipment of the mystery beans. The barista, a young woman with a flair for the dramatic, prepared their drinks with meticulous care, her movements almost ceremonial. When Sarah took her first sip, her eyes widened. "This is incredible. It's like coffee, but better." Mike nodded, his expression one of awe. "It's like it knows exactly what you need." "How is that even possible?" The barista smiled. "No one knows where the beans came from, but whoever created them must understand coffee on a whole other level." As they enjoyed their drinks, Sarah and Mike couldn't shake the feeling that there was something extraordinary about the beans. It was as if they carried a story, a reminder that even the simplest rituals could hold profound meaning. On the Lorixian homeworld, Rax and Lyra watched the spread of the mystery beans with quiet satisfaction. Their gift had achieved its purpose, bringing joy and connection to a world that had taught them so much. "Do you think they'll ever figure out where the beans came from?" Lyra asked, her tone playful. Rax smiled, a rare warmth in his expression. "Perhaps, but it is not the origin that matters. It is the impact." As they gazed at the holographic projections of Earth, the two friends raised their cups in a silent toast to the humans who had shown them the extraordinary power of an ordinary cup. For in the vastness of the universe, where countless species and cultures thrived, coffee remained a universal symbol of connection, resilience, and the beauty of shared experiences. And as the stars stretched out before them, Rax and Lyra knew that their journey was far from over. There were still lessons to learn, worlds to explore, and stories to share, all fueled by the magic of a simple, steaming cup of coffee. Months after the mystery beans took the world by storm, Sarah and Mike began to notice subtle but profound changes in their community. The local cafe, once a quiet spot for a quick cup of coffee, had transformed into a bustling hub of creativity and connection. Artists displayed their work on the walls, musicians performed in the evenings, and neighbors who had never spoken before became fast friends over their morning brews. "I feel like coffee's more than just a drink now," Sarah said one morning as they sat by the cafe window, watching the lively crowd. "It's become something bigger." Mike nodded, sipping his latte thoughtfully. "Yeah, it's like it brought everyone together. I mean, look at this place. It's a whole vibe." Unbeknownst to them, Rax and Lyra had returned to Earth to observe the long-term effects of their gift. Disguised once again as humans, they wandered the cafe, blending in seamlessly with the crowd. What they saw filled them with a sense of pride and wonder. "Look at them," Lyra whispered. "Their joy is palpable. They've taken something as simple as coffee and turned it into a force for connection." Rax nodded, his expression thoughtful. "It is a testament to their resilience. Even in a world filled with challenges, they find ways to create beauty and meaning." But their observations were interrupted by an unexpected development. A group of corporate representatives entered the cafe, their sharp suits and clipped tones cutting through the warm atmosphere. They approached the manager, a kind-hearted woman named Elena who had been instrumental in fostering the cafe's new culture. "We're here to discuss your partnership with the Mystery Beans," one of the representatives said, his tone formal but insistent. "Our company is interested in securing exclusive distribution rights." Elena frowned, her brow furrowing. "These beans have been a gift to the community. They've brought people together in ways I've never seen before. I'm not interested in turning them into a corporate commodity." The representatives exchanged glances, their expressions hardening. "With all due respect, this is an opportunity to bring the beans to a global market. Think of the exposure your cafe could gain." Elena stood her ground. "This isn't about exposure. It's about about people, and I won't let that be compromised. Rax and Lyra, observing from a nearby table, exchanged a glance. It was clear that the corporate interest in the beans threatened the very connection they had sought to foster. They knew they had to intervene. That evening, as the cafe closed for the night, Rax and Lyra approached Elena in their human guises. "We couldn't help but overhear your conversation earlier," Lyra began. "It sounds like you're facing some tough choices." Elena sighed, her shoulders slumping. "It's more than tough. Those beans have done so much good for this community. But if the corporates take over, I'm afraid all of that will be lost." Rax nodded, his expression serious. "Then perhaps it is time for the source of the beans to reveal itself." Elena blinked, confused. "What do you mean?" With a faint shimmer, the holographic disguises faded, revealing the Loryxians in their true forms. Elena gasped, but before she could react, Lyra held up a hand. "Please, don't be alarmed. We mean you no harm. We are the ones who sent the beans." Elena stared at them, her mind racing. "You're aliens? And you gave us coffee?" Rax smiled gently. "Not just coffee. A gift born of the lessons we learned from your people. Coffee taught us about the power of connection, of shared experiences. We wanted to give something back." Elena's shock gave way to understanding. "So the beans, they're not from Earth?" Lyra shook her head. "No, but they were created with Earth in mind, designed to amplify the qualities you already cherish." Elena frowned. "Then what do we do about the corporates? They won't stop until they own everything." Rax's gaze hardened. "We will help you protect what matters. But the solution must come from your people, not us." The following morning, Elena gathered the cafe's patrons and shared the truth about the mystery beans. The revelation sparked a wave of excitement and determination. Together, they devised a plan to ensure the beans remained a force for community rather than profit. They formed a cooperative, pooling their resources to purchase the cafe and establish it as a community-owned space. The cooperative pledged to use the beans to support local initiatives, fund artistic projects, and provide free coffee to those in need. When the corporate representatives returned, they were met with a united front. "These beans belong to the people," Elena said firmly, "and that's how it's going to stay." The representatives, realizing they had lost, left empty-handed. As the cafe flourished under its new model, the Loryxians prepared to leave Earth once again. They had witnessed the resilience and creativity of humanity, and their belief in the power of connection had only deepened. "Do you think they'll be okay without us?" Lyra asked as they boarded their ship. Rax smiled. "They've always been okay. They just needed a little reminder of what they're capable of." As the ship ascended into the stars, the cafe below buzzed with life, its patrons united by the simple joy of a shared cup of coffee. For in the vastness of the universe, where countless cultures and traditions thrived, the magic of coffee continued to shine, a testament to the resilience of the human spirit and the power of an ordinary ritual to bring people together. And as the Loryxians set their sights on their next journey, they knew that the lessons they had learned on Earth would stay with them forever, fueling their quest to find meaning and connection among the stars. In the years that followed, the cooperative cafe became a symbol of what humanity could achieve when they came together. Its success inspired similar initiatives across the globe, with communities embracing the idea of shared spaces fueled by a simple but profound ritual: coffee. The Loryxians' gift of the mystery beans continued to flourish, spreading not just as a beverage but as a philosophy. The beans became a catalyst for conversations about sustainability, equality, and the importance of preserving cultural traditions. From artistic movements to grassroots activism, the influence of the beans could be felt in countless facets of life. Sarah and Mike became local celebrities, their role in the cafe's transformation celebrated by their community. They started a podcast, Brewing Connections, where they shared stories of how coffee had brought people together in unexpected ways. "I still can't believe this all started because our coffee machine broke," Sarah said during one episode, laughing as she reminisced. "Talk about a blessing in disguise." Mike grinned. "Yeah, who knew coffee could be so powerful? I mean, we always joked about needing it to survive, but now it feels like it's about more than that." Unbeknownst to them, the Loryxians continued to watch from afar, their curiosity about humanity undiminished. Rax and Lyra, now regarded as pioneers among their people, were invited to share their experiences at intergalactic forums and cultural exchanges. One such forum brought together representatives from dozens of species, each eager to learn from the Loryxians' findings. Rax stood before the assembly, his voice resonating through the grand chamber. "The humans taught us that the smallest rituals can hold the deepest meanings," he began. "Coffee, for them, is not just a drink. It is a symbol of connection, resilience, and creativity. It is a bridge between individuals, a reminder that even in their most challenging moments, they find ways to come together." Lyra stepped forward, her gaze sweeping the crowd. crowd. We have seen their struggles and their triumphs. We have witnessed their capacity for innovation and their unwavering belief in the power of community. And we have learned that there is much to admire in their chaos. The forum erupted into applause, the delegates moved by the Lorixians' account. Among them were representatives from species that had long viewed humanity as primitive or inconsequential. Hearing Rax and Lyra's words challenged their assumptions, sparking a renewed interest in Earth and its people. Back on Earth, the cooperative cafe continued to thrive. On the anniversary of its founding, the community gathered for a special celebration. The event featured live music, art exhibits, and, of course, plenty of coffee. Sarah and Mike were honored with a plaque recognizing their contributions, and Elena gave a heartfelt speech about the journey they had all undertaken together. "We started as strangers," Elena said, her voice filled with emotion, "but over the years, we've become something more. We've become a family, bound by the simple but powerful act of sharing a cup of coffee." As the crowd cheered, Rax and Lyra, disguised once again as humans, watched from the back of the room. Their hearts swelled with pride as they saw the impact of their gift unfold before them. "Do you think they'll ever suspect it was us?" Lyra asked, her tone light but curious. Rax smiled, a rare warmth in his expression. "Perhaps, but it does not matter. What matters is that they have found their own way, their own meaning." As the celebration continued, Sarah and Mike raised their mugs in a toast. "To coffee," Sarah said, her grin wide, "the fuel of dreams and the glue of communities. And to the people who make it special," Mike added, clinking his mug against hers. The Lorixians quietly joined in the toast, their own cups filled with a brew they had come to cherish. In that moment, they felt a profound sense of connection, not just to the humans, but to the greater universe they all shared. For in the vastness of space, where countless species and cultures thrived, the lessons of unity and resilience continued to shine. Coffee had become more than a beverage. It was a symbol of what was possible when people came together one cup at a time. And as the stars glittered above, Rax and Lyra knew that their journey was far from over. There were still worlds to explore, stories to uncover, and connections to be made, all fueled by the simple, enduring magic of a shared ritual. For in the end, the greatest discoveries were not found in distant galaxies or ancient texts, but in the ordinary moments that brought people together. And for the Lorixians, there was no greater treasure than the lessons they had learned from humanity's love for coffee. Epilogue. The ripple effect decades after the cooperative cafe's founding, its influence could be felt across the globe and beyond. What began as a small community effort had sparked a global movement, inspiring millions to embrace the idea of shared spaces, sustainable practices, and meaningful connections. Coffee had transcended its role as a morning necessity, becoming a symbol of unity and hope. Sarah and Mike, now in their later years, often reflected on the journey that had brought them to this point. Their podcast had grown into a multimedia platform, featuring stories from around the world about how coffee had changed lives and brought people together. They traveled to conferences, festivals, and remote villages, documenting the ripple effects of a simple cup. "It's funny," Sarah said during a live broadcast from a bustling cafe in Tokyo. "We used to think of coffee as just a way to wake up, but now it feels like a way to wake up the world." Mike grinned, holding up his mug. "To connections, creativity, and a little bit of chaos, because that's where the magic happens." Back on the Lorixian homeworld, Rax and Lyra had become legends among their people. Their insights into humanity had reshaped Lorixian philosophy, encouraging a shift toward embracing imperfection and finding beauty in the ordinary. The Lorixians, once a society driven by cold efficiency, began to explore the art of ritual and the joy of shared experiences. One of their greatest achievements was the creation of an intergalactic exchange program, allowing species from across the universe to share their cultures, traditions, and, of course, beverages. Coffee became a central focus of these exchanges, its story serving as a bridge between worlds. During one such exchange, Rax and Lyra found themselves back on Earth, standing outside the cafe that had started it all. It had grown over the years, expanding to include a library, a performance space, and a rooftop garden. But at its core, it remained the same, a place where people came together over a shared love of coffee. Inside, they spotted Sarah and Mike, now retired but still frequent visitors. The two friends sat at their favorite table, laughing and reminiscing as they sipped their drinks. Nearby, a group of children painted a mural, their laughter echoing through the room. "This place," Lyra said softly, "is a testament to what they've built. What we all built." Rax nodded, his expression serene. "It is a reminder that the greatest legacies are not found in monuments or records. They are found in the connections we make, the lives we touch." As they sat down to enjoy their own cups of coffee, a young girl approached their table, her curiosity evident. "Are you new here?" she asked, her wide eyes studying them intently. Lyra smiled. "In a way, but we've been here before." The girl tilted her head. "You look different," Rax chuckled. "We're just travelers passing through." The girl nodded, satisfied with the answer, and skipped back to her mural. Rax and Lyra exchanged a glance, their unspoken bond stronger than ever. As the sun set over the city, casting a warm glow through the cafe's windows, the two friends raised their cups in a silent toast. To humanity, to connection, and to the enduring power of an ordinary ritual. For in the vastness of the universe, where stars burned and civilizations thrived, the simple act of sharing a cup of coffee remained a beacon of hope, a reminder that even the smallest sparks could ignite a revolution of the heart. And as the first stars appeared in the evening sky, Rax and Lyra knew that their journey was far from over. There were still stories to uncover, lessons to learn, and connections to be made. And for as long as there were people to share it with, there would always be coffee. The kind that woke you up, not just in the morning, but to the possibilities of the world. Years later, the legacy of the coffee movement had become a central narrative in human history. Scholars, artists, and storytellers spun tales of how a simple cup had bridged gaps and united people. Sarah and Mike's names became synonymous with grassroots change, their podcast archived in the Global Culture Museum as a chronicle of an extraordinary time. For the Lorixians, the lessons of coffee transformed their approach to the cosmos. Where once they had sought only data, they now sought understanding. Their emissaries traveled to countless worlds, sharing their own discoveries and learning from others in return. The story of coffee became a symbol for their mission, a reminder that even the smallest gestures could hold the greatest meaning. On the 50th anniversary of the Cooperative Cafe's founding, Earth hosted a galaxy-wide celebration of unity. Delegates from countless species gathered in a grand hall, sharing stories, traditions, and, of course, coffee. The event was broadcast across the stars, a beacon of hope for civilizations near and far. Rax and Lyra, now regarded as elder statespeople of cultural exploration, stood on the stage beside Sarah and Mike. The four of them, once strangers from different worlds, had become friends whose bond transcended the boundaries of species and space. In her speech, Sarah reflected on their journey. 50 years ago, we stood in this very cafe, wondering how we would make it through a morning without coffee. Little did we know that simple struggle would lead to a movement that changed the world and the galaxy. Mike added, his tone warm and humorous. It just goes to show, you never know what kind of magic can come from a broken coffee machine. The crowd erupted into laughter and applause, their cheers echoing through the hall. As the delegates raised their cups in a unified toast, Rax and Lyra shared a quiet smile. "Do you think they'll ever stop surprising us?" Lyra asked. "Not a chance," Rax replied. "And that is why we keep learning." As the celebration continued, the two friends watched with a sense of fulfillment, their hearts full of gratitude for the journey that had brought them here. For in the vastness of the universe, amidst countless stars and stories, they had discovered the greatest truth of all, that connection, in its simplest and most profound forms, was the essence of life. And as the aroma of freshly brewed coffee filled the air, they knew that this was only the beginning. The stories, the lessons, the connections, they would continue to grow, fueled by the enduring magic of a shared cup. And so, as the night gave way to dawn and the first rays of sunlight illuminated the hall, the galaxy celebrated not just coffee, but the endless possibilities of a shared and connected future. One cup at a time,